Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I brought you out here to one of my favorite meditation spots, and we're here on the New Hampshire side of the Moore Reservoir here. And today's going to be a good video. We're going to talk about some useful information. Kind of getting away a little bit maybe from the hardcore nature stuff and more the abstract thoughts of mine. So today, though, we're going to talk about keys to successful online learning. And I think that, I'm particularly someone who's knowledgeable about that because, from a really young age, I just disagreed with kind of what I was being taught in school and how I was being taught, just, the whole regurgitation test mindset. And so, I think a lot of people feel that frustration, but it's just unfortunate that, not everybody knows what to do when they feel that frustrated. And, luckily for me, I smoked pot when I was a kid, and so I researched the shit out of that online. And thus, in doing so, I found this whole alternative community to what I was being told about, what cannabis was and how, how it functioned with our bodies. And so that was really the catalyst that, brought me to the internet as my primary source of information. And, right off the bat, I just want to say that there's the good, the bad, the ugly on the internet. You get all aspects of it, from Harvard University publishing their courses online to like the crazy conspiracy theorist making his video and writing articles. And so the first key to online learning successfully is source identification. And so Facebook, my goodness, is a great example, because a lot of people like to post and share articles on Facebook, and oftentimes when it comes down to the more the more abstract concepts and things like that, it's just an article written by somebody who's really an opinion article, which can be valuable in its own right. Certainly you don't need to dismiss things because they don't have valuable source information, but one of the first keys to look for is if you're on a site, you're on a learning channel or page, and there's not, an article, and there isn't good source information, such as like a bibliography that, we might have all learned about in school. If it doesn't have that, it's probably not really at a certain level that you might want to reach when you really start considering it to be, truthful, valuable information. So yeah, source identification is going to be the first key there. And so I think the second thing I want to mention is structuring your time. And so, I used to be somebody who would just kind of go on YouTube, and, they have such great, algorithms generated for these sites. And you can kind of argue on both points of this. But, they look at what you watch. They look at what you search. They know what to recommend for you. And, for me, my recommended videos, I find so many amazing things in my recommended videos. And, I guess I'll break from that train of thought to mention that, the internet primarily, because it's such an open place for ideas, it's such an open market, you oftentimes get content exposure that you would never get from mainstream media, such as a television, the radio, anything like that, even schools. It's very, all those things are structured, monitored content, and the internet is not. And so I think that's one of the most valuable aspects of it, and it can be a benefit and a disadvantage to that lack of structure that you'll find there. But I think if you know how to navigate that properly, it's better than any tool. And I gave up cable a long time ago. I hate cable TV. I hate the radio. It's brainwashing. It sucks. It projects negative energy and emotions onto people, and I'm not going to get into that because I want to keep it informative here. But, back to structuring your time for, your optimal learning experience. There's a lot of ways you can do that. And I was just getting into the point of how, all these recommended videos for me on YouTube or wherever, I love that I can just kind of go out there and with a random say, oh, I don't have any structure today, and I can just learn about something new that I never would have thought about or never even, have heard about. And I think that's a wonderful way to do things sometimes, but it's not the best when you're actually trying to, for example, learn a marketable skill. Learn something valuable that you can thus take and use in the real world. That's just kind of, good learning in general. But like when you want to learn something specific, a specific skill, you gotta structure it. You have to make yourself goals as well. And I'm a big fan of notebooks, writing things down. I think it's just so helpful and so useful to help you organize your thoughts and be more productive in a way that's not intrusive to your mindset. You don't have to worry about things and keep them on your, your mental plate because you got them in your notebook. And so to talk a little bit more about structures, I don't necessarily think that, if I laid out to you how I structure my own learning time, it's just me. I learn in a certain way. I have certain interests that require certain structures that are, more valuable. So everyone's going to be really different in that aspect. So I think the more important aspect of structures in general is, yeah, you can even plan it out like a university would for you. For example, like course structure. If you wanted to, plan even like a major, you could say, all right, I'm interested in these subjects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, out of these 5 subjects, I'm going to spend an hour a day learning about these specific subjects. And okay, I want to make sure that that hour is productive. So I'm going to narrow down some valuable sources that I can go and spend that time in so that you don't have to sift for a valuable source when you put in that hour. You already have your source. You already know what you're going to do and where you're going to do it, but it's just about allocating the time to it. And so that I think is very helpful, and that's one way to do it, which is kind of directly modeled after, the modern education system and, the course structures that they have there. But, for me, more important than even that is definitely setting realistic short-term goals for yourself. You know what I mean? And so that is just something that everyone should do in life all the time, really. Have short-term goals, long-term, medium-term, long-term goals, because you want to see your progress. You know what I mean? You want to feel like you're progressing. And once you can accomplish these goals, I had a wonderful teacher, Nelson Balaket. He's from Canada. He's a wonderful guy. Who knows where he's at now? But he taught me a business management and entrepreneurship course in Nashua High School. And basically he focused on 2 primary things when he wanted to, that he really wanted to drill into us, and that was Agile Programming and gamification. And so Agile Programming is kind of a term in the software world where it's like you have to make this program that's just so, complex, so many facets of it. It's impossible to focus on it in the big term, to work at it while focusing on the grand scheme. You got to be, really, really like mentally there to do that. So, and it's really not efficient. So, of course, that Agile Programming is just a concept of taking a huge task and breaking it down into subsets of daily tasks, weekly tasks, and these manageable goals, as well as gamification comes into it, because that's a way of hacking the brain's reward system. If you make something a game for yourself and you set these goals, you're then able to see that you've accomplished it, and you're able to, relish in those reward chemicals that are released in your brain and feel that on a more, substantial level than if you just kind of say, all right, I took this step today. Like if you plan it out, you're able to go back and, have a little checklist, check that off the list. It's a great feeling. So, yeah. That's just quickly, kind of the structures and, different, methodologies to what I think are some good key points to how to make online learning for you successful. And it's always pertinent to, what you're trying to learn and your goals going in. So set the goals, make the structure, do a little planning before you just jump out there and sift through the content, And so while we're here, too, I do want to, kind of talk about different resources for myself. And a few of those resources, obviously, there's big names out there in the internet world like YouTube, Google, you know what I mean, Facebook. And I think for me, YouTube has been the absolute number one best resource for me and my learning that has ever existed. And I'm somebody who grew up playing video games, all the time. And so I think that there's really a lot of value in simulation learning. So, the contrast of reading something in a book on paper versus seeing it live in a video versus even, right now, what we're moving towards, the virtual reality technology and actually being able to like interface on that simulation level. And so that's what I'd love to cultivate in the future. But what we have now is this great video content, from all these wonderful sources and a lot of terrible sources too. So what I want to do is, actually list off, the YouTube channels that I follow and, why I follow them and why I think they're valuable. And I really have narrowed down the channels that I follow to really highly educational, what I think is very, valuable individuals. And part of the benefit of YouTube is that you post a video and people can talk to you about that video. They'll throw you out a comment. You can respond to that. You get the dialogue going, and it's this community learning happening. And so that's another thing that is really important for online learning, is that, people, when I, didn't want to go to college and all this, they used to say to me, there's a benefit, to being in a group, collaborative learning, because you can bounce ideas off of other people and get perspectives that you wouldn't have generated. And I think that's very, very true. And so it's really important to kind of have this dialogue while you're learning and have other people on the same page in the same subject to converse with and then shoot back and forth ideas. So, anything that you're watching on YouTube that you're trying to learn, I would highly suggest, if you have questions, throw them in the comments section. See who replies, talk to people about it and just, collaborate. It's really a valuable tool that we have as, community-based people. But, YouTube channels that I follow, and this is just a list that I've made, and it's not really in a particular order. I kind of wish I ordered it better, but nonetheless, we'll start it right off. I'm into, traveling, living in vehicles, you know what I mean? Like traveling cheaply. So van life communities on YouTube are amazing right now. There's a lot of great channels for that. And a lot of what I just love is people's attitudes. People who just are passionate in life and they want to share their love for life and their passions. And that impassions me, that inspires me, and I love to see that in people. And so there's a channel called Into the Mystery 13, and it's this guy from Oregon who's doing his van life channel. He makes these awesome build videos for his vans and his things, and I'm not necessarily interested in his technical skills on how to build things in carpentry, but what he does is, he just has this amazing, collection of videos of his travels and his mental and spiritual growth as an individual. And so that's why I follow him, Into the Mystery 13. Secondly, Vsauce, Michael Stevens. He's just got an amazing mind, and he got some amazing video editing skills and structure skills. So, one of the best things I can say about his channel is that, he comes out with, not so often he'll drop a video, but they're always about 20 minutes long, and they're just amazing. They cover some topics in such detail, and they learn about fascinating concepts that often don't have black and white answers. So, he's maybe not the person to go to if you're trying to just learn a subject black and white, learn how to do something. He's more about exploring the edges of consciousness and, what it is that we actually know, here on the planet. And so back when I was in high school, too, one of the first alternative news organizations that I followed is called Vice. Everybody knows Vice Media. If you don't, you're just not on the you're not on the front page, you know what I mean, of the world right now. And that's Shane Smith is the founder of Vice, and he's just an amazing journalist, you know what I mean? He does amazing work. And the company, though, is really taken off, and it's really diversified in what they do, and I'm not a fan of a lot of their content nowadays. because it's just these, these people they hire to do this work. And but I still follow them. They have Vice and Vice News, so it's kind of culture and then straight news, straight political stuff and happenings. And yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to sift through some of their content, I think, to find something that's valuable to you. But yeah, Vice and Vice News, great channel. Veritasium, Veritasium, is just a science-based learning channel. I think that I got into it for a lot of the physics, different physics concepts that I, wasn't learning about because I, kind of skipped that class in high school. And so, yeah, they're just a great science channel over at Veritasium, as well as the Valhalla Movement. And I stumbled upon them in my exploration of Earthships. And Earthships are a type of architecture that will, they focus on self-sustainability, and really, smart resource use. But Valhalla Movement has a great video, 10 minutes, I believe, called Introductions to Earthship. Like, what is an Earthship? And they're just an amazing program up in Montreal, I believe it's where they all started. But it's nationwide and stuff, and they're really reaching out and just being awesome, And so Valhalla Movement, they have a website. I would just highly recommend that of any of these. You check that out. I love it. The RSA Animate is an amazing company that I don't know their history, but what they do is they take lectures, oftentimes TED Talks, and they do this amazing animation with it. And I think they draw on a whiteboard, you know what I mean? A lot of people should be familiar with RSA Animate. And, they're just amazing. They have lectures, but the animations that they add to these lectures give it a totally different, feel and, sense watching their video. And not to mention, they kind of pick some good lectures, too. They got some great lectures. And, them, of course, they take a lot of TED Talks. I follow TED. What a great, organization. That's a pretty famous one. Pretty awesome. School of Self-Reliance. And, now we're getting into kind of me on a personal level and what I'm into as far as, optimal lifestyles and being reliant on yourself, out in the forest. And I believe they're based in Augusta, Maine, I think, and so they're just, about, primitive life skills, self-reliance, of course. And so now we'll kind of get into the music production aspect of my interest. And so Recording Revolution. Music production has been just totally revolutionized by the digital age and our ability to take what used to be a $40,000 music studio and recreate that digitally for $200, not even. And so Recording Revolution is just a wonderful, recording engineer, sound engineer, and he just shares all his wisdom and insight. You can learn so much from that channel about that if you have an interest. Pensado's Place as well. Dave Pensato, I think his name is one of the best, the best music mixers, just sound engineers. He is a master. He's such a wealth of knowledge. He has guests on his show. His channel is structured beautifully, and he just has, great weekly releases and maybe, timely releases, I'll say that. But again, a music production channel, wonderful. Mr. Tesloyan, and God, I love Nikola Tesla and his work, but Mr. Tesloyan, there's quite a group of people who are just fascinated with Nikola Tesla and his work, and so what they want to do is kind of take it that step further. And the thing about this guy, Mr. Tesloyan, he lives out in the desert, I think, of Arizona, and he just comes out with amazing ways to use resources efficiently, whether that's wood-burning stoves and using the gas from those stoves versus, manipulating electricity and different things for your benefit, and just getting real technical in the how-tos. And it's just, I would highly recommend that one to anybody, too. And there we go down to Motherboard, which is a subsidiary of Vice Media, and they're just, of course, about technology, kind of digital technology. Motherboard. Minute Physics, pretty self-explanatory, more physics concepts. Metal Wolf Reaper, he's kind of this crazy-ass, conspiracy theory guy. I think I watched one of his videos that I liked, but, take everything there with a grain of salt. I don't know how good the source material on that is, but programming, web coding, coding designs, and my channel I follow is Learn Web Code, because, I'm interested in building websites. I think everyone should really learn how to code on some level. It's kind of a really pertinent technology right now. Journeyman Pictures is amazing. It's a documentary channel, and you'll find full-length documentaries on a lot of subjects that will never be talked about in mainstream media. ImageLine is the creator of FL Studio, the music production program that I use, the digital audio workstation. So ImageLine is nice. Guitar Jams is Marty Schwartz. He just does probably the best, guitar lessons for how to play songs that you'll want to play. And, Guitar Jams with a Z. Future Music is a magazine. They do a lot in the digital music world. And here we go back to the van life, Exploring Alternatives with Matt and Danielle. It's just called Exploring Alternatives, the channel. But their structure and their organization is killer. And they're just doing everything like van tours, people, tiny home tours, just really exposing this subculture and bringing it to the mainstream. And they're an amazing channel. And here we are, Cody's Lab, just straight as it is. Cody's Lab, this incredible mind out in Utah, this guy. And he has amazing videos. He works in a mine. He has his own mine. He fixes everything by hand, and his video has some amazing chemistry. I don't know what he does for a profession, but he is one smart dude, and he knows how to do everything from making gunpowder from your own urine to mining platinum from roadways, and he'll teach you it all. And he's just a great guy to follow. And of course, the Bosque Village. I did an interview with the Brian Fay, the creator of the Bosque Village down in Michoacan, Mexico. And, he's one of the people who, he lives what he says, you know what I mean? Not many people can say that, you know what I mean? That when they have all these ideas about alternative lifestyles, this guy is out there creating a community, creating a lifestyle, and really living sustainably on a level that most people have never reached. And so the Bosque Village is an amazing channel and project for anyone to check out who has an interest there. And lastly, the last channel I follow here is Bicycle Touring Pro. And I really like the idea of bike touring and riding a bicycle and being able to travel the world on that level. You can hop on an airplane and you won't really see the world that way. You can go to a destination, sure, but the journey is the destination, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I like bike touring, and I did that when I was a kid at a summer camp, and I just fell in love with it, and, that's another channel I follow. And, that's kind of it for the YouTube channels I wanted to share with you. I think I made all the points that I wanted to as far as, keys to successful online learning. YouTube is my primary resource. I hope it stays live. I hope we don't, reach a point where it's all kind of lost due to whatever reason. But if it does, it'll be all right. I think, it's really nice to kind of archive different videos on a hard drive, somewhere that, you can save it. I don't really know how the concept of an electromagnetic pulse wiping out our technology, I don't know how relevant that is to solid state hard drives that are turned off and stuff like that, but I think it could destroy just about everything that we have stored online. So, it is what it is. Online learning. We're in the digital renaissance, of course, and I think you should start living like it. I certainly do. So take care, and thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this video. If you did, drop me a like. Subscribe to the channel if you think you can learn more coming up. I'll have some good videos coming out, and for now, back to the wilderness. Thank you again.